It is beyond our imagination that when electric current itself was discovered in the 17th century, how could anyone have built an electric power station millions of years ago? It is like someone invented the car before the invention of petrol or the smartphone before the invention of the telephone. Today, we will learn about an invention in China that is only possible in today's world, but in reality they were first developed thousands of years ago. In 1937, there was an archaeological expedition to the mountains of Tibet led by archaeologist Gupo Ty. There they found 716 granite digs inside a house, most of which were buried inside the house. Each dig was 9 inches in a diameter, 1 inch thick, and had a 1 inch perfect surface in its right center. After cleaning these digs, it was found that some silly letters were written on the edge of them. Carved letters were written on the stone some 12,000 years ago. But this was not the only thing of surprise for the archaeologist. He also saw an advanced map of the stars made inside the necklace and some small scale. News that people wrote inside. They were buried like little skeletons, but their heads were bigger than they needed to be. What happened here? To know this correctly, it was very important to decipher the letters written on these 12,000 years old digs. After 20 years of hard work, when the mystery could not be solved, these stones were handed over to Professor Sam only. The professor studied them for 4 years and sought the help of the tribes living on the Tibetan plateau. And finally he deciphered these characters. It was written by a tribe that lived here 12,000 years ago. There was a mention of a plane that came down from the sky and crashed here. At the time of the accident, it was also said about Mukluk, who survived, that Draper was the clan members. In these 716 digs, it was also written that at first we had at home out of fear, but later we realized that the droppers from the sky did not come here with any wrong intention. They could not go back and started settling here. His research was published in 1962, but no one paid much attention to it. 6 years later, the same story began to spread again, but this time when Soviet scientists in the Soviet Union researched it, they found huge amounts of cobalt and other metals, the hardest metals in the world. Due to all these metals present in the graphite, the nature of the disk was also very hard and it was not possible to carve it with the tools used 12,000 years ago. These stone discs were kept in the Bamboo Museum in China. When an Australian engineer visited the museum in 1974, he was denied information about the stones, and then in 1994, when two German scientists visited the museum to look at the food, they were told that the Chinese government had destroyed the digs. But by far the most important question was that if the story written on the stone was indeed correctly deciphered 12,000 years ago, what happened to the surviving dropper? A survey in 1938, a year after these stones were discovered in 1937, was conducted in this region of Tibet. Two tribes lived here whose race anthropologists consider quite distinct from the other Chinese, Mongol and Tibetan tribes that settled here. His skin was yellow, his head was larger than necessary, and he had very little hair on his body. while his height was recorded to range from 3 feet 6 inches to a maximum of 4 feet 7 inches. Almost as much extra was found inside the house. So now the question arises that this same type of draper did not survive 12,000 years ago. Even today, a tribe lives in the northern Tibetan plateau who were not called drapers but tribes. But these people are about the same height as normal people. This draper stone is not in any museum in the world today.